Are these the new sneaker of the year contender? I don't know. What's up, sneaker people? It's your boy FB Kicks and Gear, and I am back with another video. This time we are featuring the Awake Jordan 5 Arctic Pinks. Y'all know the story behind these. Lots of backdoor allegations, people comparing Awake to Trophy Room and Marcus Jordan. My opinion, not a good look for a first release, or I should say a first kind of major hype release. There was not a lot of these pairs, and a lot of them apparently ended up getting backdoored. Not good. Thankfully, I was one of the couple hundred that were able to secure pairs on the Discord raffle, so I have my authentic pair here. And just like with every hyped release that I can get my hands on, I'm gonna try and get you guys a real versus fake legit check guide out there so you guys can make some informed decisions. So I am here doing that with these as well. So just like in every other video, this is the replica version. You can find more pictures of the rep on the Instagram account that's going to pop up on the screen. Pay attention, guys. It's important that you know what the rep looks like. So go to that Instagram account that'll pop up on the screen. And as I mentioned earlier, this is the authentic pair from Awake. My authentic pair is a size 11.5 and the rep is a size 11. So keep that in mind when you are seeing comparisons and I talk about things like shape and proportions and things like that. But with that said, let's get into this video. We're going to start with the boxes and the accessories because it's the easiest things to knock out first. So here we have the two boxes, the authentic pair here on the left and the replica box on the right. And just like normal replica shenanigans, we have a tiny box for the replica and a normal size Jordan 5 box for the authentic. While we're looking at this view here, you can see that while the overall image is the same and it looks very close, you've got a different color when it comes to the red of the Awake NY. It's like a more intense, darker red on the rep and more of a lighter, almost leaning into the fire red category here. So you can see that night and day, and all of that applies to the rest of the red accents on the box. You can see that they definitely got the details correct, but just like with most of these special edition boxes that replicas have, when it comes to the extra text and things just always tend to be off. And that's still the case here. And the colors are probably the biggest difference outside of the size and the grays. Obviously, the cement grays are different colors, so that's nothing new. Always remember to check out the box because the box can save you a whole bunch of trouble if you can identify the box as being fake. The next thing we're going to look at are the stickers that come with the shoes. You can find these inside the box. And again, just like most things that replicas struggle with, the colors are just not there. You've got like a dark maroon blood red for the replica stickers and a more lighter, more vibrant red for the authentic stickers. Overall, there's also a pretty noticeable difference in the font and weight of the text. Look how thin and small the Air Jordan text is on the authentic sticker and how much more bold it is on the replica. So they tried, they're not exact either, but I know that this is probably something that most of y'all care the least about. One sticker that the authentic came with that the replica didn't was this Awake Jordan brand co-branded sticker. So this was in the authentic box and I did not find it on the replica box. So let's actually put the shoes side by side and start the video there because that's what most of you guys care about. Immediately right off the bat, you have got a replica that is 75% of the way there, but the 25% that's different may be a huge deal to you, may not be a huge deal, but it's my job to point out that 25%. One of the things that I mentioned earlier in the video is that this is a very nice quality shoe. Specifically this upper material, this pink, Arctic pink leather is very, very soft. They chose a really good material to make these out of. And I'll tell you what, if this was like a sail or a tan color, it would be in the conversation for sneaker of the year for me. But when you get the replica pair in hand, and you see them side by side, you start to notice those 25% differences starting to pop up. Overall, while the leather looks very similar, it's not the same kind of leather. This is definitely more of a standard leather with a TPU coat, and you can tell by how the surface tension on the leather kind of reacts to being touched. When you touch it, it kind of pulls the entire top layer and everything starts wrinkling, as opposed to when you touch the authentic pair, it's only wrinkling at the point of contact. The leather is a little bit stiffer. It's still soft to the touch, but it's definitely not as soft as the authentic pair here, for sure. And the leathers actually come out as like a different color. The pink on the authentic pair is definitely more of a washed out pink, while the pink on the rep, it's a little bit deeper of a pink, not as washed out, not as muted. One of the things that I'm definitely noticing here too is that this little detail accent here on the authentic pair right at the bottom of the tongue, very different when compared to the replica. This is super wide. This is super compact. I would have to look at other Jordan 5s like the Black Metallic Reimagined to see if this is more typical of a GR Jordan 5, like a standard Jordan 5, but definitely very, very different. And you can see where the lace placement is different too, because the piece of leather here is very visible at the bottom of the lace while it's covered for the authentic pair. So you're already starting to see some shape differences that is impacting how the shoe comes together. But with that, let's take a look at this side here. And here we see there are definitely some differences in the shoes. You can see that they definitely tried to get the image of the authentic pair at least relatively accurate. But this view here gives us a really good look at how the authentic and the rep compare. One of the things that I'm noticing is that we've got a color discrepancy here on the shark teeth. You've got a darker red on the shark teeth of the rep, while the authentic is a little bit more vibrant. You're also seeing a gloss effect to the authentic that the rep does not have. I'm looking at the A's. Ironically, the A's look pretty good. This window looks pretty good. But one thing that I'm noticing from the side angle is that the authentic pair is just not as bulky as the rep. And ironically, the authentic pair is a size 11.5. The rep is a size 11, and there the bulk is just different. You can see it in the toe box. You have your authentic pair here on the right this time and the rep on the left. But when you look at the back of these shoes, you can really see how much chunkier the rep is when compared to the authentic pair. And you got a good look at the color difference and the sock liner as well. So a lot of these things, just the 25% of differences to me is really apparent here when you have them side by side. That shape, definitely something different going on with the shape. They are definitely using a different mold for the replica pairs than they are for the authentic pairs, because this is a smaller size, but for all intents and purposes, it's bigger, it's bulkier. So that's something to pay attention to. Looking at the stitching for the NY here on the side, they look pretty close. You see a little missed stitch on my authentic pair. It's a little QC issue, but more or less, they look pretty good. The authentic pair just seems to be a little bit tighter of a embossing pattern than the replica, but they still look pretty good. And the reds are slightly different, but still pretty close. But when you look at the A's, very well done. They look pretty identical to me, even down to this little pink triangle. These actually seem to be the same color when side by side. The suede on the rep is a smoother, shorter haired suede. But when you look at the authentic pair, it's definitely rougher visibly and to the touch. Looking at the outsole, you got a much bluer outsole on the replica pair, and you've got a finish difference when it comes to the black part as well. It's glossy on the replica and it's matte on the authentic. And it's weird, I get the vibe that the rep outsole is just a little bit wider than the authentic outsole, even though the outsole on the authentic pair is a half size bigger. So that's something you guys have to pay attention to when it comes to reps. Not everything is made exactly the same, and sizing isn't always consistent either. But looking at the air bubble, you can see a pure white air bubble, those columns inside the air unit for the replica, and it's a little bit of a cream color on the authentic. So you can see that's a color difference. They're using different air bubbles. And then when you look at the tongues, you've definitely got 3M on both tongues, but the type of 3M is different. This one is muted, it's almost matte, while the authentic is super shiny, and it's definitely more reflective in natural lighting. And you can see that by how much glossier this is when the light hits. And then the embroidery looks pretty good, although I will say this is something that I see on replicas more often than not. With Jordan 5s, you've got that jagged tongue stitching here, where authentic pairs used to look like this too, but Jordan Brand has definitely fixed whatever issue that they have, and they're able to get this looking a lot smoother. But as far as the embroidery goes, they definitely look pretty good. Outside of that, the netting, it's weird. The tongue netting feels different. This just feels sleeker and slipperier. The authentic pair, definitely not as rubbery, and it feels like it has some grip to it. So outside of that, you definitely got two different pinks for the shoelaces as well. So there has been a decent amount of differences that I covered here. You know, anybody that says 1-to-1 is a liar, right? This is perfect case. You know, if the best rep is like 85% different, and you know the best mid-tier rep is around 75, we're probably in that 75% range. This is what I expect typically from mid to high tier reps here. Outside of that, I'm not really seeing anything too crazy. Let's take a look at the other shoes. Let's look at the 23 and see how those look. Positioning looks pretty good. You still have the slight difference in color for the red stitching, and how the black embroidery kind of falls a little bit differently on the replica than it does on the authentic. The Nike Air on the back, slightly bolder on the replica. Typical stuff that we see. And if we're looking at the tongue tags, I'm not seeing anything too crazy here. Most of y'all know they have 1 out of 7,000 for all of these. All of the authentic pairs are 7,000 authentic pairs. They all say 1 out of 7,000, and the replica does as well. The replica stitching is definitely a lot cleaner. I'll try and superimpose them right next to each other because I only have 2 hands, but outside of that, we've got shoelaces here. The replica shoelaces are a little bit more brighter of a white, while these white laces on the authentic pair have a little bit of a yellow tint to them. Red laces, definitely a little bit different too. The red laces of the rep are a little bit lighter than the deeper red of the authentic. Comparing the Awake New York tags, typical difference. They're not the same transparency at all, and everything just looks a little bit blurrier on the rep than it does on the authentic. So that is essentially the comparison. I'm gonna shut off the lights. I'm gonna do a very, very, very quick black light test, and we'll wrap up the video. So when it comes to this authentic pair, you get some slight reaction out of the pink laces. You're getting a reaction out of the plastic lace holders here, slight reaction out of this little triangle, a slight reaction on the shark teeth, white laces glowing like crazy, a reaction out of the air bubble. Nothing too crazy on the tongue. Definitely get a reaction out of the Awake NY tag on the back of the tongue, along with the stitching, 1 of 7,000. And that's pretty much it. A little bit more than I would expect. Let's see what happens when we shine the light on the rep. Firstly, you're getting way more reaction out of that outsole on the rep than you are on the authentic pair. And you're not getting the same reaction out of the shark teeth either. So you got a little bit of a difference going on there. You don't have any reaction out of the plastic lace holders here on the side, unlike the authentic pair that had some reaction. So you're not getting the same reaction out of the rep at all. The laces aren't reactive. That little triangle is reactive, but it's a lot more reactive on the replica than it is on the authentic. White laces lighting up like crazy. Air unit does react, and you're getting the awake NY and the stitching to react as well. So I'd say biggest difference here, you got the laces, you've got the plastic bits lighting up a lot more on the authentic than lighting up on the rep. The rep, you have major reaction out of that outsole, completely different than the authentic pair. But outside of that, everything else seems to be more or less the same. So using the black light test along with some other things, you'll definitely be able to legit check these shoes. So let me turn the lights back on and let's wrap up this video. So there we have it, guys. That wraps up our real versus fake comparison and our legit checking guide. You guys tell me, what do you think? Following up the truth about replica sneakers videos, how do you think that these fall in comparison to these? I know that I believe this might be Y3 batch, but I'll have to check. I know that there aren't a lot of batches of these out there, so there aren't a lot of options when it comes to the replica shoe, and that means that there aren't a lot of batches out there that can throw you some curveballs. We noticed a lot of different things. One of the things that I really suggest is just getting your hands on this and feeling it, manipulating it, and understanding what these materials are like, because they are definitely very nice and very soft, and the rep is just not the same. They're not terrible materials, but they're not the same. But that's the name of the game, guys, right? So, with all that said, guys, remember you can find more pictures of the replica pair on the Instagram account that's going to pop up on your screen. Do your research. I implore you guys, do your research, because understanding what the replica looks like can save you a ton of money in the long run, especially if you're going to be dropping the $600, $700, $800 that the authentic pairs are going for now. So with that said, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.